Hi everyone, I'm Ayush and I'm with Zapier, and today I'm going to show a really cool demo of meeting task automation. So essentially what you're going to do is you're going to open up your Google Meets, and once your meeting is ended, your meeting will automatically be added to a Google Drive, and this Zap will transcribe the meeting, take the actionables in the meeting and upload them to your tasks in Airtable, and send Slack messages to people in the Airtable with overdue tasks. And all you have to do is end your meeting. All you have to do is record that meeting and it automatically gets stored to Google Drive, and that Google Drive will trigger this Zap where these actions will take place. So let's see this Zap before we get into the demo. So this interior of the Zap, you can see exactly how this is working here. And essentially it's going to do a polling every 2 minutes for a new file in Google Drive. And this Google Drive is just Meet recordings, and this is where these Google Meets will be stored automatically when your meeting is ended. And so it's going to check every 2 minutes if there's a new file in there. And if there's a new file, then the first thing it's going to do is it's going to convert that meeting recording to an MP3. So before we get into that, I just want to show how this works here. So we have this new file in the Google Drive. The trigger is new file and folder. You would log in with your Google Drive account to just connect it there. And in this case, you can see we have my Google Drive. We have the folder, which is Meet recordings. And we can also test it out. I've already tested it and seen it works, but we see here that we're just adding this file and that will be sent to the next task. Our next task here is to convert it to MP3 so that our ChatGPT transcription process can actually transcribe it. So essentially what we're doing is using Cloud Convert, and we configure this with your account. We're saying the input is MP4 and the output is MP3. And we're putting in the file as the file name as from the Google Drive, and the file is directly from Google Drive as well. And we've tested that and made sure it works as well. Then we have our ChatGPT integration, and this integration is essentially going to do the conversion from that file to our text. And essentially the action we chose here is create transcription. And create transcription will take our MP3 file and then turn it into raw text. So essentially we have our file, which is the task's result from our Cloud Convert, and our prompt here is just to translate this audio to text, and a response format is text. And as you can see, this works, and I just did a testing file from earlier, and it was able to convert that to text. Our next step here is essentially we need to take that raw text and convert it into a CSV that can be formatted by our Zapier and put it into a table. So essentially what we're going to do is this ChatGPT integration is going to use this conversation event, and we're logged in with my email already. So essentially all we have to do is feed in this user message, which is just the content, and essentially the content will be a CSV file, or will just be our raw text, and that will be turned into a CSV file based on these four categories. And these four categories come from our Airtable, and you would set these to whatever columns you have in your Airtable. In our case, we're creating basically a way of tracking tasks, because essentially it's going to take your meeting and figure out all the tasks in your meeting and basically create a table of all the new tasks that have been set in the meeting and add it to this table. Right, so we have these current tasks here. We have these four columns. We have name, description, status, and due date. So we've just told the assistant here that we need those to be our four essentially columns and our CSV, and we don't want to output anything except for the contents of the CSV. And finally, we've tested it and seen that it works. So earlier I had like a test file and it created this CSV, and yeah, it worked properly. So our next step is we're converting it from the CSV into something called line items. And line items is what exactly Airtable takes. Airtable takes something called line items. And as you can see, these line items have specific fields here. And these fields, as you can see, correspond with our CSV columns, right? So here we have this formatter by Zapier, which takes your CSV, your raw CSV file, and then converts them into these these line item objects here. So as you can see, it took these CSV file from step 4 from the conversion in ChatGPT, and it converted it into our line items. And as you can see, it's detecting it if it's a CSV automatically. It's going to force the first row of the CSV, as we saw earlier, to be a header row, and yeah, it's going to be importing it from the CSV file from our ChatGPT output. And you can see that, as we can see, this was the input, just a raw CSV, and the output will be these line items, right? We have one line item, which is description, due date, name, and status. We have all the information we need. Second one, and etc. And now that we have these line items, it's going to be really easy for us to just put these into our Airtable. So essentially, we have our Airtable here, and our action is creating new records. And as you can see, we can see the configure tab here. We have name, description, status, and due date, and we're taking these directly from, let's move this here, taking these directly from our output, from our Zapier formatter, and these will contain things like output line item's name, output line item description, status, and due date. And we've tested it here, and we can see it added it. I'll show you just in the actual demo that it actually adds it here. Another step we want to do here is we're going to go through the entire Airtable and see if anyone has any overdue tasks and send them a Slack message reminding them to do that task. So what we're doing here is we're going through the Airtable and finding records with line item support, and we're looking for a specific field, which is status, and we're looking for the field, this should be overdue. And yeah, so we're looking for that overdue field, and once that happens, we want to test it out, and we saw that one person had an overdue task, and then finally we'd use Slack to send them a direct message. So now that I've gone through this, kind of the structure of how this Zap works, I want to go through an example. Okay, so for this example, I'm going to start a meeting. So I'm going to just start this new meeting, and we're just going to join. It's just going to be me in this meeting for this example here, and I have this test script of what to say. So I'm going to start saying this, and I'm also going to record the meeting so that the meeting recording gets directly sent to the Google Drive Meet Recordings, which will trigger the entire Zap sequence. So let me just set up the meeting recording. So I'll go to Activities, and I can click Recording. And I'll click Start Recording. And now I'll go through this transcript here. Hey everyone, welcome back to our weekly stand-up meeting. I want to discuss some tasks for the next few weeks. Joe, I want you to work on developing a marketing strategy for the new filtration system by December 15th. Mark, I want you to work with the engineering team to create a finalized design for the filtration system by December 10th. And Andrew, I want you to create a rollout strategy for existing customers by December 19th. Thank you everyone for coming to today's meeting, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Yeah, so let me just end the meeting recording. And that'll save it to Google Drive, and then I'll end the meeting. Okay, so this should be stored here in a couple of minutes. We just have to wait for Google to process it and get it stored here. So I'm going to cut back when this is stored. Okay, it seems to have been added to this Google Drive here. And now let's go to our Zaps. And so this polls around every 2 minutes. So let's see if it's pulled. So it's not yet pulled. So I'm going to cut back in around a minute when it seems to have pulled it and done the actions. Okay, I'm back, and it seems to have finished running. So let's go through this run and see what happened. So we have I found a new file in the Google Drive. Then it's going to convert it to our MP3 file so we can create the transcription with ChatGPT. And feeds it into there, and let's see how the transcription looks. So let's do data out, and we'll see. Okay, this looks great. And the conversation, this one will be turning it into our CSV file. So let's see what the data out looks like here. And this looks great. Exactly what we need. We have our 4 columns and as our headers, and then we have all the data in comma separated values. For the Airtable, we'll be turning these all into our due date, description, name, and statuses for our line items. Our Airtable said it sent one new record to Airtable. And it says, this is another step here where we're going to be going through our entire Airtable and finding anyone with overdue. It found the only one overdue, and I'll go to the Airtable so I can see the new ones added as well. So it says Joe, Mark, and Andrew have been added here with their correct information, developing a marketing, working with engineer, and creating a rollout strategy. All these have the correct information with the correct dates here. And it also went through this and found, the exact values where they have overdue status. And the only one in this table that has overdue status is my task right here. For demonstration purposes, essentially it's going to send direct message Slack. And as you can see, it sent a message to Ayush, and it sent it with their overdue task, call about Joe, or overdue with Q1 spending. It said the description and said the due date, and let's see in Slack. So it seems like I got a new message. Overdue task, called Joe about Q1 spending, was due on 11/2. Please complete it ASAP. So that's about it. This is a great demonstration of how you can use Zapier to completely automate your workflow in a meeting that just ended, and it can do all these amazing tasks such as creating these new line items in your Airtable automatically from just video. The video will turn into a transcript, which will turn into these line items, which will be added to Airtable, and then the Airtable can be used to take many more actions on. You can send Slack messages, you can send emails, you can do many more things with the thousands of integrations that Zapier already has built in. Thank you everyone for watching.